One more thing I wanted to touch on before we conclude, just very quickly. James White, Eric Mason. The reason why I wanted to touch on this, and this is one of the reasons why we even got into this topic today, was because James White, who is a apologist or theologian, whatever you want to call him, most likely you want to put him in the category of apologetics. He mentioned something the other day, and we won't dive deep into this, but we will touch on it lightly. He said that not just only, but specifically in black churches, we see a lack of good theology a lot of the times. We see a lack of studying church history. We see a lack of apologetics. We see a lack of a lot of those things right there. Pretty much he's saying there's a lot of black churches out there that are not biblically sound. And Eric Mason, who is a black preacher that considers himself to be biblically sound, he had something to say about that. And so a lot of people have been debating over the last couple of days. I didn't want to devote a whole episode towards it, but I did want to ask you, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I wish I could have dug deep into it to see the context and everything. You know, I like to do that.
It was in the context, I can tell you, and you can either trust me or not, but I know you want to dig for yourself, but I looked into the context of it. James White was responding at that point, and this is what a lot of people were missing.
Black Hebrew
Israelite. And so he was dealing with black people being mad at him, James White, saying, how were you able to debate this black Hebrew Israelite, which is a false doctrine, false belief? How were you able to debate him so easily? Like, where were you whenever we were struggling with this black Hebrew Israelite theology? Where were you whenever we were wondering if we should be a black Hebrew Israelite? I wish you were in our churches, because we never had that in our churches. We didn't study church history. We didn't study apologetics. We didn't study those things. Where were you? And so James White is saying, I got a lot of black Christians friends that are telling me that they never grew up with this stuff. So in his mind, he deduced that a lot of black churches out there aren't doing these things.
Yeah.
And I agree to a certain point, because I know where I come from. We weren't taught church history.
Yeah.
I can only speak from what I experienced, really.
Now, there are reasons for that, because, and I'm going to throw in, because, you know, of course, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Hispanic, so I got to throw that in there too.
I'm Puerto Rican as well.
Yeah.
I got to throw that in there too. A lot of y'all don't know that.
Right.
I have a Puerto Rican side to me, and I have a black side to me.
Right. So actually, when I first came to saving faith, I did so in a black church. You know what I mean? So my experience in my first year and a half to 2 years in the visible church was in a black church, right? I think my experience, I would say that was the case, but I think it's a difficult topic to unpack, because historically speaking, people of color have not been welcomed, you know, in American Christianity. You know, it's almost like when you look at the slaves, you know what I'm saying? Not that there weren't white Christians actually genuinely preaching the gospel, because they were there and they were against slavery. You know what I'm saying? That history proves that, yeah, they're there. But generally speaking, I think we've been uninvited, you know, and it's sad, but why did it take so long for someone who was African American to graduate from Dallas Theological Seminary? That happened in the 20th century. You know what I'm saying? Why did it take so long? You know, so there's a reality. There's a historical reality to it. So why would black or Hispanic churches emphasize on a history that we were never really a part of or even invited to? So that's difficult. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's not important. I study church history. I got the institutes over here. I dig into it. I dug into the early church fathers, who, by the way, were Northern African dudes.
Yes.
By the way. So if we're not informed,
like Augustine,
right? So if we're not informed, we won't dig into it. You know what I mean? So there's a reality there. But I think for the most part, the American experience when it came to Christianity is unique in that, you know, you had sinful slavery take place. You had the environment that was set up to actually, you know, not invite people of color into a predominantly evangelical experience that didn't include people of color. So the backlash to that is, yeah, we're not going to dig into that history. We were never a part of it. It doesn't mean that most of these churches were ignorant, though. You know what I mean? I think James White, I think
he needs to clear that up.
I think he needs to show me the numbers, show me some facts, you know what I'm saying, behind what you said first, and then we can go from there. Yeah. So, you know, I wasn't digging too much James White on that particular, but I also wasn't digging Eric Mason posting that up, just that clip either. Yeah. Because it just fanned the flame of people's, you know what I'm saying, you know, hate, or, you know, labeling James White a racist and things like that. I think when you call someone a racist, you better have proof that they're actually racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't like the whole thing. I think it's messy. I think it's hurting people. And I think there needs to be a discussion at least. Sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stop this internet beef. It's not helping the body. It's hurting the body. Why don't y'all just sit down, get together, and chop it up and see where it goes? You know?
Yeah.
Do the Christian thing that we're supposed to do, and that's to love one another and talk to one another. You know? So,
yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna vibe with some people out there. You know what I'm saying? But that's my take on it.
We can touch on this a little bit deeper another day. But I wanted to give quick thoughts to that one.